We could get started. Chapter 21, Blueprint for Black Power, Nation Within a Nation. We could start off with question one. There was a section in page 504, talks about the African American community separate and unequal. Um, First question is, what is our take from that piece of reading separate and unequal? My thoughts were pretty much going back to what we talk about in the BAIO of the tenant versus the landlord mindset,
Mhm.
where us African Americans, we're seen to be comfortable in just, being reactive and not necessarily having the ownership, and it just being comfortable of someone else kind of taking care of our needs. But how it's being taken care of is not, you know, it's not a priority to non-Africans. And Amos Wilson talks about, the damage of this mindset also comes from like the African American scholars, the analysts that actually know what's going on, and they're not really promoting that, ownership mindset. And from my conclusion, when we start to have the nationhood mentality, that's when the little things actually start to matter. Because right now, people don't see the big idea of infrastructure. They don't see the bigger picture when it comes to having your own land. And when Amos Wilson talks about this nationhood mindset, everything else, that comes after it, it becomes, a necessity. It becomes an important topic. What an area looks like does matter. The highways and the infrastructure and businesses and institutions that are built. Um, Another thing that I got from it too is just from what he said in the beginning as well, is that it's negligible. It's not something that we should really consider, because we're trying to have a country within a country.
Yeah, I thought that's excellent. I thought yeah, in your point about the landlord versus tenant mentality, is well taken, and I thought he captured the um, well, even from the beginning, where I'll go into the second section where he quoted Douglas Massey
Mm-hmm.
and Nancy Denton, all of it, but I'll quote this. This extreme racial isolation did not just happen; it
Yeah.
was manufactured. And here it's by whites, but I'd say with other groups coming in and kind of sharing that with them in positions of power within this country, and just following along with that blueprint, which is basically against us. That it's manufactured, and for some of our folks, I think it makes it easier to handle being here and dealing with it, the constant assaults, not just the physical, which is obvious, the verbal, the open aggressions, the microaggressions, excuse me, um, is to not even is I would say not acknowledge that, not just kind of somehow turn it into it's just the way things are, and not addressing that it is, you know, not something that just popped up out of the air,
Right.
our situation.
Right.
And even folks who kind of acknowledge that don't really put on it or put the emphasis on that should be, and kind of blame everything on the community. And I said, obviously the quote unquote personal responsibility for things is important. But when you're under assault, you also need to acknowledge that. Like you could
Mm-hmm.
be a perfect princess, and you're still going to have a massive amount of the issues that we do, and that separate and unequal, excuse me, is manufactured. It's 100 because you see when there's a little bit of who you think is somebody's foot is off your neck a little bit, and you start to see how people operate and
Mm-hmm.
get things done, and the accomplishments. It's pretty incredible, and then it's the foot back on the neck type of deal. Like, up, too much success. Got to do something to kind of curtail that. It's
Right.
absolutely manufactured. So
Right.
yeah, I think your assessment is a good one. That yeah, that landlord versus tenant. If we hit more of us, I guess, have become to accept the tenant quote unquote mentality at this point. There's always been that. There's always the as you used to say, the go along to get along. As horrible as things get, there's still people who would do that go along to get along. Don't want
Mm-hmm.
to upset anybody in power.
Yes.
Yeah, because what I like what Amos Wilson said in page 504, he said the relative powerlessness of the African American community is not primarily due to an
Yes.
absence or paucity of human resources or even monetary and other material resources. It is due rather to its lack of efficient organization, coordinated
Hmm.
development, and application under the influence and guidance of a deep, abiding sense of peoplehood and nationhood, of national purpose and identity. And this goes back to what even Hobb was preaching about. We're not
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
organized.
Mm-hmm.
There's no agenda. There's no what's your policy, as he would
That's right.
ask when he would go to those forums. Like, this is just beyond of what we do not have, but also what is the mission? What are we trying to accomplish here? And if we don't have that, then everything else is just it's futile. It's useless. Because what are we here for,
That's right.
basically?
Right. And I think also a part of it is just our community wanting to integrate so much
Mm-hmm.
into this American society. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to integrate into the society and fit in, you're not going to start to question how it is. You just kind of seem to accept how it is.
Yep.
Because, a lot of times in our community, people are not even having that conversation of saying, you know, we are a nation within a nation because and just even like going into further with the this chapter where if you start to say the black community is a nation within America and our issues is the same issues that is happening in Africa, then you start to see things a little differently. But sometimes a lot of people don't even have the awareness to have those conversations or
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. And
Good point.
it's interesting too because he also talks about how what we're doing here, it is affecting nations in Africa
Yeah.
because their condition, it's worse. It's third world, and obviously what they're seeing, their own people in America, how they operate, they're going to adopt that, saying, okay,
Yeah.
well, if this is what it is to get to that level or to be that comfortable because it seems fun over there, then that's what I have to do. And they're only seeing it from the surface and not necessarily the details or how integration is, damaging, and not just really focusing on what you have within your own country. They're
Right.
going to take that tenant mindset and they're in a landlord position because
That's
they
right.
have their own nation.
That's right. It's like, why are you doing this? You've got this, and sometimes, just like with folks here, people don't see it because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of encouraged not to. There are
Yep.
all kinds of distractions, other things to talk about. You're getting continuously punched in the face, but you're you're encouraged by the same people who are punching you in the face to talk about other things and other people who look like you who should be helping you out.
Right.
uh, who are encouraging you to look elsewhere and talk about other things. So yeah, discussing what happens abroad and how um, they interpret and look at what's done here is another great point. We are unofficially we're unofficially a nation within a nation, a very you know uh, a dysfunctional one, which he goes into in this chapter. In this chapter.
Questions?
Right. And I think it was on 506, sorry,
Oh, no, you good.
that there was, yeah, there was, he wrote about how the African American community is hopelessly dependent on the
Mm-hmm.
white American community,
Mm-hmm.
is incapable of self determination, therefore must await the favorable transformation of white racist attitudes. Like, we can't change other
Uh,
people's attitudes.
to talk to some of us, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know it. It's
Say, oh,
amazing.
we're going to keep doing what we're doing and we're going to wait for them to apologize,
Yep.
right? Nobody, when somebody does something wrong to you, you can't make them apologize or even feel sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's so funny because, like, I keep saying it to myself every single time. It's like at an individual level, we can understand, screw me once, shame on you, screw me twice, shame on me type of thing, or just not
Yeah, third
allowing,
time.
right, not allowing anyone to disrespect us, at an individual level. But then when it comes to a collective, all of a sudden we have to turn the other cheek, kind of erase what has been done in the past and just try to, kiss and make up. And it's like, wait a minute, what?
Why is it on us?
Right. Like, where was the whole we was kings and queen? Like, you just automatically just kiss the person's ass, or try to indirectly kiss the person's ass without making an ass of yourself. It's weird. It really is weird.
I
But
think it's like Helena said, it's dysfunctional. We are in a dysfunctional relationship.
mm-hmm.
And until people can grasp that and work on themselves and also within the community, we're going to remain in this dysfunctional relationship. And then the people who are not dysfunctional, you're a scapegoat. Like, why are you thinking about this? Because a lot of times you hear the people say, but America is the best country. We got it so good. Yeah, we got it bad, but it's a lot worse than other countries. Like, if there's a reason to remain here in America.
Right. Right. Question 2. What are some of the potential benefits and drawbacks of African Americans having a separate nation within the United States? So this pretty much can go into page 509 of 5010 when Amos
Mhm.
Wilson talks about the advantages of having a nation within a nation. And it pretty much goes to what we talked about in the previous chapters, right? You have representatives that can, you know, be at the seat of the table and make decisions that could benefit in our favor. There's more job opportunities, obviously, where you don't have to go through the loops of applying or such, and you can, hire your own people and also sell within that community too. Um, and the list just goes on and on. The
Yeah.
drawbacks that I could think of is because I didn't. Well, I know Amos Wilson touched on it a little bit, but I was thinking the only drawback that I could think of is if we only act as a nation within a nation, then we can only go but so far because we're just a satellite community in America. We're a satellite with no signal, meaning we're a satellite where we don't have a main server, aka a country.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the only drawback to me that I could think of is if we have only a community that is here, still we're at a vulnerable state, because if shit were to hit the fan, you know, where is our backup? Where is our main source that we could still go back to communicate, trade with, or someone that can interfere if we're being mistreated?
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, he's got several bullet points here, and I thought this was fantastic. The last one being the development of financial and social institutions which enhance the overall viability of the African worldwide community. So that
Mm,
goes what you're saying, but not having it's not the same thing as having a homeland outside of this reality here.
right,
He
right,
said somebody could go. So it looks like what he's focusing on in this section is as far as the outreach and having relationships with other African peoples worldwide. Uh, would I don't I'm guessing that's what the extent of what he was thinking about here in this chapter. I know Hollop mentioned that uh, you know he's spoken to him before, and I think that that's not just the only thing that he's thinking about is here. That he was actually somebody who would be on board with us having you know a spot on the continent
right,
to flourish as well. It's not just do it right here mentality.
right.
Obviously, he's focused here on if we're here. This is, you know, at that point when he was writing, it's what he saw needs to be done. But that he was also thinking internationally and us being able to have something on the continent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's important. I mean, again, I like the bullet points that he has here. There was one where he points out. He said one of the advantages would be the ability of the African American community to speak with one voice to other communities and nations. And I was like, I was thinking yes, and then I put my little comment here because it's like in 21st century is the rise of many grifters.
Mm,
So that would, I think that muddies the waters with communicating with other people, with other African people, and primarily. And then if you're extending it to worldwide, if we're putting a case before people or wanting to do things with other people in partnerships to advance our interests, um, these grifters can get in the way because they cause issues with our stability, our base.
right.
You know what I mean? Our us understanding, like we've said in the past, talking about folks who don't even acknowledge that they're of African descent.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's barely acknowledged. The focus is on um, either some other group here or calling themselves something else, but here. There's no link really. And that mentality that's kind of blossomed and grown recently. Not that there hasn't always been somebody with some of that issues, wanting to blend in here, excuse me, and not emphasize their roots to Africa. There's always been that throughout our time here, but this current, I guess, this current time is. It seems like it's been pretty ridiculous for quite a few years. Seems to
Definitely.
just not die down like I think it should be and just kind of go away. It's just blossom, and it's not just the grifters. It's people who are really confused who promote it. Um, I think the leaders a lot of times who are promoting this know exactly what they're doing, and
Yeah.
it's damaging to our people. It's damaging to a nation within a nation. Even if we didn't see anything, on the continent or being able to do something where we had our own. If you're talking about here, you're undercutting what can be done
Right.
because of
Cause
all of the yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, like, cause when you think about it, well, first off, funny enough, in the book, I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois, when he was explaining his approach to the economic proposal.
Mhm.
I think it was him or Amos Wilson in this chapter that was talking about the collapse of America, and here we are now, like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
in the
Yeah.
in its downfall, like just in this
Yeah.
era. It's very interesting, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's the drawback with the nation within a nation. I mean, we could just go back to the tenant and the landlord mentality. If we have, you know, we got our own apartment, we designed it the way it was, we put in a lot of effort to make it nice and smanchy, suede rugs and incense and all. But then as soon as that complex crashes for whatever reason, all that hard work, it just goes, or
Yep.
if we have to leave, where else can we go?
Yeah.
And if
Right.
there's other complexes that are also, going down in business, we're SOL. So
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
But I
sinking
found
ship.
that that's thinking ahead for some, that's thinking too far ahead for
right.
some people because it's automatic cut off. I'm not going anywhere. This
Yeah.
is my home.
Yeah.
We built this. And as I said, all of that could be true, but your conclusion that you're not going anywhere is out the window when somebody else decides to move you. So
Mm,
we're talking about, even at this point, we're talking about contingency plans. If you're deciding this is where I'm going to be based, okay, contingency plans. Because if you're paying attention, especially what's happened with our community, you would think you'd want to have a plan B.
right.
If that, but I mean, it's almost like even just suggesting that still for some folks is just, it's the worst thing in the world. How dare you? You know. I'm not gonna. We're trying to suggest something where we survive, and it is looked at a hostile attack.
How dare you see the future?
There
Yeah, yeah,
is no plan B because plan
yes.
A is all we got, and that is going to work.
That's exactly right. That's like,
I mean, in the real world, they tell you that, the only change that thing that is inevitable always is change. So you always
hmm
gotta have a plan that the plan A might not work. So you gotta always be thinking ahead of yourself.
that's
Right.
right. Look at how our migration, who within the within the country over the past 400, 500 years, a lot of times they're things that are forced, not
Mm-hmm.
just the fact of being here. I mean,
Yeah.
with our movements within the country. So like, well, if you're looking at history and looking how things have happened specifically for us, I mean, the statement here talking about this has not been an accident. Our situation here, our reality here has not been an accident. You
Mm-hmm.
would want to, if you really aren't comfortable leaning on somebody else. You'd want to be proactive.
Right.
I think so. Folks who say that they want to be proactive, sometimes do you really? Because it doesn't seem like it at all from what you're saying to have that reaction like I'm not going anywhere. Whatever it is, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, you can say that. Somebody decides to move you, like that's happened. What's happened with our folks. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to be
Hmm.
moved. You will be moved. So pouting having a pouty lip and crossing your arms and stomping your feet. I ain't moving. That's just you saying
Oh,
that. We
you're gonna
we're
move.
trying to
You just haven't made the choice.
right.
And
That's
and that
right.
could be under the concept of learned helplessness because in some communities, you've learned to be helpless, and instead of
Mm,
you making the choice and being proactive, you become reactive.
Yep. Yep.
right.
Number three, how might the idea of a nation state or a nation within a nation impact race relations in the United States? What steps can be taken to address any potential conflicts or tensions that might arise? So, what impact with race relations if we have a nation within a nation? Well, if if in a sense we have a country in Africa that is our home base or our nation state, and then we have, you know, many nations in America, then we will be looked at differently. Where we're not, where our value is not seen as just the consumer, but also the producer. I know that W.E.B. Du Bois was talking about in the economic proposal to play the consumer role, because the value in that is, whatever we buy, that's where the business is going, or the attention is going for the producer. Like, okay, we have to make more of this because African Americans tend to, like this, or this is convenient or so. But if we have our own nation within a nation and backed by it, a home country, then we're not just seen as people who just buy, but actually people that we can, you know, compete. People want to be revolutionary until it's time to be revolutionary. People want to, talk about Black power until it's time to be,
Yeah.
talk about Black power. And for those that want to do it for like their own platform or their own status or so, honestly, I wouldn't even want them on my team,
Right.
because they want to, they want to Michael Jordan the thing, or have a highlight to say, I did this, and put their face on it, instead of saying, we did this, or the Ubuntu factor.
That's right.
So that's one way I see it. And to have also too, when you have the right people, you know, it erases the easily influence, and just the ill intentions. One quote that I always remember was from Ralph Emerson. He said, "Perception is not whimsical, but fatal." And whimsical means, playful.
Hmm.
It's not something to a person's perception is not something to be played with, but taken very, very seriously. Because just like what we talked about in this chapter, a lot of people tend to have the helplessness mindset, and it's crazy. It's dysfunctional to
Yeah.
really see yourself as a bottom tier, and kind of, and just comfortable with other people handling,
Yep.
your quality of living. That's dangerous.
And I think some of that, I mean, it goes back to some of the earlier chapters, like I was thinking of the giving up,
Mm,
um, and that being a reaction, and
mm,
and just like we try the voting part of it. We vote these people who look
Hmm.
like
mm,
us,
Doesn't
folks who
work.
look like us in the office, and they 100% turn on our community. The one group they'll screw over is us.
yeah,
And I see that. I mean, there's some of that. I just sometimes just looking like the one group I know for a fact that you will mess over. I'm talking about with the politicians or public figures will be our group. I know it.
yeah,
And it's I think the reaction for some of our folks is just to give up, like we do. Okay, this is just how it is to be here, and it's like you don't even see that there's so many things that can be done if we do it together uh, elsewhere, and our focus being Liberia,
yeah,
to help bring things, back into motion for African Americans and Liberians. It's it's got to be that you have the mentality to look outside of this spot, this place,
right,
and understanding that because you're deciding to look outside doesn't mean that you dump on everything that our people have done here for hundreds of years. doing that doesn't negate anything that our people and any of our accomplishments here. Any of the things our people have done and any of the things our people have accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
You deciding that you want to be proactive and do something for the future doesn't it's not a negative. you know,
Right. Right.
you're not screwing over the ancestors.
Right.
Uh, and I think that's kind of a piece of it too. But looking at your uh, your third question, saying what steps could be taken to address any potential conflicts or tensions that might arise. Talking about the impact of race relations in the U.S. with the nation, the idea of nation within a nation, and I was thinking of the economic part of it. How if we really and truly got into the mode where we were doing so much, where we were turning much more of the business that we give to other people
Mm-hmm.
and give it to us. Now that obviously wouldn't be the solution,
Right.
but that would have an impact where there are people who are used to literally just sitting back and us running and handing them money.
Yep.
Uh, Somebody who's used to having that done, all of a sudden that's gone. Like that that would enrage. And I think about the grifters, and I think there would be attempts to cause even more, divisions and chaos within our community. To if this is the case, because it's pulling money away from folks who are so used to us just handing it over.
Handing it over. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just go automatically going to others. All of a sudden that's gone. Wait a minute. These suckers who've I can spit on them, kick them, curse them, call them every kind of name. They've been supporting me and my family for generations. And all of a sudden, these fools have got it in their heads that they need to work together like every other group. What? We need to do something about this.
Well, they're not going to take it, they're not going to take it easily when people
That's right.
realize you have woke up and
That's
realize you
right.
being played. Nobody
Yeah.
likes that when you realize, wait a minute, I'm being played here. And when
No,
you
absolutely.
rise up, they're not going to take that kindly. They're going to, come in to fight you, to keep you oppressed.
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, all seriousness, really. Just think about that free money. You used to it.
Hmm.
People have made. I mean, you joke about sending somebody else's children to college or whatever. Really made their bones.
Hmm.
Even if it's people and kind of focus on the grifters who are used to going in the media, and the one group that they piss on, excuse my language, is us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Having that, and then when you have a people who was like, we pull back our money, we deal with us. Uh-oh, what am I
Hmm.
gonna do? These people are quote unquote doing for themselves. I'm sure they'll find something else to, but the whole point is that, when you start taking that with little bit of control you start
Yeah.
taking that back, giving away our culture.
Oh,
Uh
yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. It's
Being
terrible.
happy if somebody just blinks in our direction. That type of thing. It extends to everything that we do. And folks used to just not doing anything to gain our trust and our money. All of a sudden that goes away. That's trouble. I mean,
Oh,
seriously,
yeah.
that's trouble.
It's going
Mm-hmm.
to cause a lot of chaos.
Yeah, yeah. And our folks who are used to automatically bending over and just accepting every word from somebody else, like, wait a
Damn.
minute.
Yeah.
People are, the ones who automatically, it's like, just so and so says it must be the case that they're some other group is saying this, another community is saying this, another race is saying this.
Yeah.
Right. We just
That
want
has to be the
their
case.
attention. We're
Yeah.
we're being used. Let's just call it what it is. We are being used, and I think like the point you talk about with our ancestors, Helena. A lot of
Hmm.
people feel like our ancestors they were stolen. They made America what it is for free. So
Yeah.
some people really feel like some kind of way that we owe it to our ancestors to work this out because of their hard work and free labor.
Yeah, that's a great
But
honestly.
the way I see it, I always say, okay, yeah, we were stolen. Our ancestors was born here. But if you have a child that is kidnapped or stolen, nobody ever says that child's supposed to stay with the kidnapper.
That's
Right.
right.
You're supposed to go back to your original land.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just and I understand that. I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah,
Senator, man, what our folks have been through,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
yeah.
what our folks have done, and I just think of think of some of the elders, like their whole lives and what you know,
Mhm. We
and
got to
we
make
want
it
some
right for our
progress.
ancestors.
Yeah, and I get, but the solution isn't just to stay and continue to deal with uh everything that our folks have dealt with. Constant
Yeah, I mean, nothing does
manipulations,
enough. Yeah.
everything. You try to get a foothold here, you see somebody
Hmm.
manipulating, and like I said, and the as Dr. Wilson would say, the aliens. It's like
The aliens.
the aliens who basically take up the mantle for not for our folks.
Right.
It's like
Hmm.
it's not reciprocal. It's it's something where we have it to do it on our own, where we can move forward, but it takes a mentality and not entrusting everything to whoever's in power here. We're certainly not that, because we are uh, cannon fodder.
Right.
And it's a good question about how might the nation within a nation impact race relations in the United States. How would that idea um, cause I don't know, to be cause frictions and
Oh yeah, I can
hostilities and
imagine if there was such unity. I mean,
mhm,
the world would just would faint.
yeah. And I saw a little. I mean, this is years back, before your time, underrated, but with the a little bit of the Million Man March, where there were at least 1 million brothers
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
together. And I remember that. I remember that day. I remember some of the brothers who came back from the march for a week or two, or the rest of the month, or whatever it was,
It was about a
weeks
month. They were
afterwards.
all.
Yeah, there
But
was a
good.
different. There was a change, but it was our folks. It was something with us. It didn't matter what anybody else. And there were people who were, and I remember that too, who were trying to uh, interject their feelings about things. So this literally has nothing to do with you. It's
Mhm.
nice that, as usual, you want to give us your opinion. And then even within the community, some people who are like, a small number, but it's like, oh no, 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 troublemaker. We're not going to allow
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
to, we're not going to allow you to mess this up,
Hmm.
to try and veer us off. Well, shouldn't it be everybody? No, this is focused on the brothers. Period. Paragraph. That's simple.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about other things. Let's keep it this on point. That's what this is about. And when I mean, I was gonna say, I see a little bit, man. When we are focused, when we are focused, and we could do something. If we decide to do something, we can do it.
Yeah.
No question. No question. So the nation within a nation, there's certain things that won't happen because you're within this nation. You don't control this. So, you know, but the things that we can control and aren't trying to control, um, that is to a certain extent on us. And some of the leaders that we're putting out there on the political front, once we see, okay, they're not working in our interest, they should
Mhm.
be replaced. But that means we have to be on the same page with that. More
Hmm.
of us have to. And a lot of times, that it's the distractions, or somebody else's opinion that could get in there, and people kind of veer off from that. To me, what should be that focus? They're not working in our interests. In order to have a nation within a nation, as much of it as we can have that's functional, we can't have the leadership we can't have people in positions of leadership that we have now, because
Yeah.
it's not, the focus is not our community, it's helping everybody else.
Yep. Well, chapter 22, demographic foundations of an African American nation within a nation. Um, Miss Ethel, I am going to have to take your proposal and breaking this up in sections because when I saw these pages, I said, you know what? She's got a point.
It's a big one. It's
So
a big
it's a
one.
lot to unpack.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's dense.
so
Yeah.
the first section, I mean, we're just going to cover the importance of a sense of nation, which is from 517 to 520.
Hmm?
And we could do Power of a Black Consumer too, because that's only one page as well. But yeah,
Yeah, it may be up to the demographic distribution of African American in contrast to other non-white ethnic groups.
oh, let me see. Hold on. How long is okay? Because
But
yeah,
that's
that's
from page
charts.
520 to 521.
Oh, that's going. Oh,
Oh, is that? Oh no, wait. When does that stop?
yeah.
Oh, that's about
I'm
oh,
flipping the
never mind.
pages now. Like, oh yeah, that's
Okay,
a.
never mind. Never mind. Yeah, let's do those two parts then to
I
start
was
with.
gonna say we could do that because it was just charts, but then it goes on and on. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I'll make
right.
sure to
Yeah.
type it up. I'll make sure to type it up because
Oh,
basically
okay. Yeah,
we
gotcha.
can cover two sections. That's
Right. Gotcha.
517 to 521.
yep, 517
And
to 521, and then
hmm
the
Okay.
important
Gotcha.
sense
okay.
of a nation and the power of the black consumer. We'll just cover those two because
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, this thing is 38 pages. I'm like, oh my
Oh.
gosh,
Yeah. We sink
Amos.
our teeth into it. Yeah. So there's a
Right.
Sir.
lot to say. It's a dense, pretty dense chapter, I think. So yeah, that's
Okay.
good. We can, yeah, my goodness. Oh yeah.
If the
Oh yeah.
Wakanda purple drink was real, I would drink it. I'm calling Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson. First question I would ask is, oh my, the
Abba.
pages.
Bring him back up as the true Black Panther.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Indeed.